I feel like we need Back in Black. Like we're actually gonna be consistent about this. Oh boy, it's good. It's good that we're back. It's almost springtime. It feels nice outside.
You know, even if with being 40 degrees, it feels good
when
out.
the sun is out, it's actually really, really nice out.
Yeah. Tuesday was beautiful.
I guess next week is supposed to be warming up too. So
yeah, was it next Tuesday? It's supposed to be almost 70.
I can't wait. We might actually get to see spring for once. So
we live in
I know. Well, we can shoot the groundhog. He'll never see his shadow again. And I mean,
me. Sorry, Phil.
Oh, welcome back to Conflict of Leadership, Coffee Table Edition, where we talk about everything in the fire service that affects us, that changes. Things are good, things are bad, a little bit of everything. You're just gonna sit here the entire time.
Gotta make sure
I think I would appreciate that because we have to re-record this again. I'm gonna come over there and stab you in the eyeballs with your eyeballs.
Make sure you take videos and send it.
I will, because I'm gonna send it to Matt because he'll get all. Oh boy! So this is gonna be kind of a re-recording, and
yeah,
kind of talking about a very touchy subject right now because obviously we've been going through kind of an interesting climate in this world.
Yeah.
So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I'm Tim, and we've got a collective about 35 years, give or take, in the fire service.
35,
40 years, some almost. It's got to be more.
See, this is my 15th
this
year.
Will be my 13th, so 20, almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. So, yeah, we like to discuss things that are happening in the fire service and just honestly give some direction. What the hell do we even do with it? Because, yeah, stuff's happening right now. It's weird. It's a doozy. So, I guess I'll frame it as this: is that we can collectively put all this into what I'm calling a new brand of toxic leadership. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's I think that's a good way to put this. We've gotten away from the brand of toxic leadership where you're a loser, you suck at your life, you suck at your job, you'll never amount to anything. And we've gone to a new brand that is, if you're not for the team completely, then you're hurting us. But the problem is that some of the things we're doing for a team and some of the things we're doing for our departments, it's hurting members.
Oh, absolutely it is. I see it mainly at my full-time job, to be honest. Not so much here, but I do see it, but mainly at my full-time.
Yeah, no, I see it. I see it in my full-time job too. It's this idea that we have real problems in the fire service we need to address. We have equipment that is failing because it's on average, fire equipment hasn't lasted 20 plus years. So that equipment's failing. Fire gear that is no longer safe for us to use, at least according to NFPA and whatever the new PFAS group that came out and said all of our fire gear has PFAS, thanks DuPont for, I think it was DuPont. Is it? Whichever company is who produces that chemical. Equipment, personnel, we're in like a hiring crisis right now. We have 3 spots to fill at my full-time job with medics. We filled 2 of them with basics. One of them had to be cut. I mean, it's nuts. And here we have a full-time position we have to fill here. That's it's not tough applicants. So,
I mean, same with my full-time job. They say we're fully staffed, but we us on the road, no, we're not. It's when you come in and work and you look at the staffing for the entire company, out of 8 stations, you have 12 trucks on the road. That's not fully staffed. There's no way.
No, it's and then you look at the state of the buildings and the state of like your quarters and whatnot. This building just got a brand new roof this last year. We need an expansion badly. This building was not meant to last 40 years.
No, it wasn't meant for us to
No.
live in either.
But why I kind of bring all this up is because there's some very real things that need to happen to fire service. But what it seems like we've gotten ourselves caught up into doing is chasing all of these other issues that either are fabricated or that are not as they seem important, but they really don't amount to anything, or just
Right.
just straight up they're completely frivolous. But for some reason, we feel like this is what we should be chasing after.
Right. And you know, in each issue, yes, there's going to be one more important than the other, but they're all equally important. There's some that needs to take priority, like our roof. The roof was leaking. That had to get done. And like you said, the expansion. Like we've outgrown this place. Trucks are getting bigger. Our station's not getting any bigger. Especially when you have 2 inches of space on each side from the mirrors to get a truck in. One of these days they're not going to fit in these bay doors anymore.
No, well, especially once we start moving into the electric realm, because that, regardless of whether you have some people who like dig their feet in and say there will never be electric fire trucks, it's coming. It's not going to be next year. Well, yes, LA and Detroit. They're not here like right this exact minute, but the testing's out there. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be one day FDIC is going to unveil, one of these companies is going to unveil an entire line of electric trucks. And I mean, like our newest truck that we bought, our full-time job 2 years ago, has a half digital pump on it. Like, so the tank to pump, it's all digitized. There's no lever anymore. You got a lever for your recirc and all your other valves, but this is the first step because the computer controls everything else. You tell it what your RPM you want it to be at, and it'll hold that. And so, I mean, these are real things that are happening. But I guess I'm wondering, why is it that we seem to be chasing everything else, and then we kind of scratch our heads and wonder, like city of LA right now, they're in a crisis after a $17.6 million budget cut, which only amounted to 2% of their budget.
Yeah.
But you cut that, and then the fire chief is crying foul with the city council, saying that we can't maintain our.
No, you can't maintain personnel, equipment, anything with a huge budget cut like that.
That's the MC. I have adversely affect the department's ability to maintain core operations.
Major. Core operations.
Well, so I did the math on this earlier today. So the average they found on Google for LA Fire right now, their average guy makes anywhere from $84,000 to $98,000 a year. So I kind of rough estimated 93,000. It's kind of middle ground for someone who's going to be there maybe 6 to 8 years, something like that. At $93,000, that is 75 salaries worth of money. You do that, that is 3 shifts, that's 25 guys and gals per shift you could add. I mean, we yesterday we ended up running with 3 out of my station, and it was a godsend for some of the calls we had. It's like, oh, this is how this should work. It's like,
right.
So, but you won't put the money to that, but then you're putting all the money to all the DEI stuff, and you're putting all the money to, oh, we want to have a nice, beautiful mural for the side of the fire station, or we want our firefighters to be wearing a certain, red, white, and green or whatever. It's like in support of this and that and the other. It's like, that's great, but it doesn't prepare them. It doesn't keep them ready to do their job.
No, it doesn't. And stuff like that. Like, is this really going to help our employees? Is it? No. So let's take that money and do something else with it. Invest it in something that's going to help them, something long term. You have to look at the investment. Like a mural, forget about it. That mural going to cost $30,000. Take that $30,000 and invest it into your department.
Say $30,000, rebuild you a couple new transmissions, a couple pumps, especially with
get you a new truck. Well, depending, like a utility truck.
But I mean, if you have a graveyard of fire apparatus that needs serviced, $30,000 will probably service at least 2 of those trucks. At least.
Absolutely. And out there they still use wooden ladders too. Those wooden ladders
No.
aren't cheap. And then all their ladder trucks. I mean, a turntable on those trucks are easily probably $30,000 to fix. Just a turntable.
So I guess I look at that and I ask myself, so what was the leadership doing in this? Now, in this case, Chief Crawley, Kristen Crawley, who was relieved by the city council.
Just about to say that she was relieved of her position.
She was bringing it up. So I want to make sure we're not decrying her for all of this, okay? Because this is not all of her doing. But then I also look at those above her and those around her who it's like, how long have some of these problems been going? First of all, your city council said, $17.6 million at the peak of fire season is the appropriate time to cut your budget. But then also too, then you're now all of a sudden you're saying, wait, we can't do this. We're going to lose all this operational ability. Why was that not made public before? Like, why do we sit here in our hands and not show the state?
We wait till this shit hits the fan. They're like, yo, no, can't be doing this. Should have been addressed a long time ago.
Well, it takes back to the way Detroit was functioning in the early 2000s, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily changed a whole lot, but from that documentary Burn that Dennis Leary made, where the first fire commissioner, I think it was 2009, was canned before the one before Donald Austin, because the mayor said enough's enough because apparatus is being broken, apparatus is not being repaired, and it's like at some point
their fleet falling apart,
and you're not getting any answers as to why nothing's happening. So you got, like, how many city council meetings did these people go to and they say everything's fine till it's not?
Right. I mean, look at our neighboring cities up north. Their trucks are breaking down on the way through structure fires, and they gotta get their gear in and walk to it. Like, it's unacceptable.
But mind you, too, this is also the same city that the entire investigation bureau got completely canned for not doing their job by the state. I mean, right, and not investigation, inspection bureau. Excuse me, inspection bureau. But I mean, here's the question I bring. It's like, what is the money going to, or what's the time going to then, if you're not spending it on that?
Yeah, I mean, look at it now. I mean, the mayor's been canned. They still don't know where the money went to. Yeah. Like, where is it?
Well, and then whenever guys bring up, like, in the case of Detroit fire, they're not getting paid, because the money's hurting so much. They're almost able to be on food stamps in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And the question is, so where is the money going? Like, what are we doing with the money? You highlight all these problems, but then you never really actually take any steps to fixing them. Right. But this is the answer I've heard, is that we're a family and we're all gonna band together. We're gonna handle this together. What do you think we've been doing? Like, do you think that we're just, we're completely oblivious to all these problems going on?
Right.
We've been handling it together. None of us can actually do anything about it. So we need more than just we're a family.
Exactly. And it a lot of times it starts with us at the bottom. And a lot of these places, like, they know the problems, but a lot of them just brush it under the rug. And then when something really bad happens, well, why didn't you tell us? We've been telling you this for past months, years. This has been a known issue.
I can bring up, like, this got brought up the other day. So ambulance at work, one of the doors that's got all the backboards on, the bottom pin doesn't latch anymore. It hasn't latched in about 3 years. Now all of a sudden somebody's noticed this. Oh, why has this been brought up? Like, this has been a known issue. You're looking at this door like this just happened. No, this is a known issue. We can only bring this stuff up so many times before, and you can only tell us so many times, oh, well, we're getting new squads in X time. Okay, cool. Well, don't complain when things are broken that you refuse to fix if you're going to kick it down the road because you didn't want to spend the money there. You wanted to spend on this really cool thing over here.
Right. And I have that issue going on my full-time job. Like all of our bay lights are completely out, but 2 of them. I'm like, this is unacceptable. Like yes, we rent a building, but the first few bay lights went out like 8 months ago, and they still haven't been replaced. Now we're down to 2 working bay lights. Like it's going to be to the point where I'm not going to be able to see to do what I need to do to wash the truck, check the fluids, everything like that. And now we have a sinkhole.
I remember you told me about that.
Nothing's been done about that. It's not even been addressed. It's getting bigger. I'm like, this is unacceptable. And when something really is going to happen, like, well, why didn't you say something? You guys have known about this. I've called about it. It's on a recorded line. It's been emailed, text message. Don't sit there and tell me you didn't know about it.
Well, and I get so a lot of these things, especially right now, they're starting to mount up, So as we've already discussed, we have an aging fire service, let alone equipment, aging fire service. Like half our trucks out there, they sit in the early 2000s models. So they're at 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years already. Fire trucks not getting any cheaper. It's going to cost us probably close to $750,000 to replace the next engine out there by the time that happens. But at what point do you start picking away at the things that you possibly can't fix? Because those problems they're not getting any smaller. So, why don't you pick away at what you possibly can fix?
Right. You start with the little things
those
first.
Lights.
Yeah. I mean, it's some people might think it's silly, but what is it? 2 out of the 10 are working. That's an issue. And like when there's no lights in there, it is pitch black. During the day, it's fine because we can crack the bay door open or just leave it open. You can see, but nobody's going to do that in the middle of winter time. Too cold. Like no, we shouldn't have to work in those conditions.
Well, and the thing is too, and this became a point of contention in my station that we have 2 bay heaters. One of the bay heaters quit working. It had quit working for a while, and I was finally getting some time to actually take a look at. Well, now because I brought it up to somebody, wow, how long has this been out? Oh, it's been out for a long time. Why didn't anyone say anything about it? Probably because no one noticed, because the 2 run concurrently with each other. So all they hear is the fan whirring. They don't know where the heat's coming from. They just know it gets warmer out there. So, but this has been the issue. Well, the solution that was brought to us was after they put in the new fuse, like, oh, well, we just can't keep the bay doors open. Okay, that's fine. There's a lot of things we still have to do with the bay doors open, even during the winter. Bay floors, for example. You can't just do those with the trucks inside. You got to pull the trucks in and out. One of our trucks has isn't hooked up to the vent system. So the only way to effectively run it without gassing yourself is you have to open the door, bay door, side door. It's really got to be the bay door because you need the ventilation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a small little car you're driving. It's a giant truck. It's putting out quadruple the amount of fumes that your car is putting out.
And so, you come up with this solution, and then you instead of addressing the actual issue that you have, no, you come to us with a policy about engine exhaust in the bay. It's like, how about we get this truck plumbed into our exhaust vents? Instead of coming up with this policy about when we can keep the bay doors open, bay doors closed, the bay doors are not the problem here. It's the truck. Right. It's the work we still have to do. Yeah. It's like you can what's it called? Legislate your way to any solution for a moment, but at the end of the day,
it's a Band-Aid.
It's not going to fix the actual problem.
Right. Like you said, opening bay doors or man door. It's a short-term solution. A long-term solution is, like you said, plumb it into the ventilation system and be done. Yeah, it's going to cost money, absolutely. but that's, I mean, it's a business. This
Mhm.
is a business that has to be ran, and
Yeah.
you know, and you got to put money into the business.
I had this discussion with our all of our stations, except for newest one. Newest one has LEDs all through the station, but to change as all these lights burn out, the fluorescent bulbs, put LED
Mhm.
bulbs in. LED bulbs,
You're gonna save your money in the
yes,
long run.
exactly. And LED bulbs in the short term are about 5 times more expensive. I get it, it's about $40 for a pack of those LED bulbs versus $8 for 3 or 4 fluorescent.
Yeah, but you're gonna replace them
Yeah.
however long. These LEDs are
Mhm.
gonna last next probably
Yeah.
15, 20 years.
And that's even if you don't use them, they're still going to work.
Yeah.
Like, but there again too, there's been instead of going through and replacing with more energy efficient things, no, we make policies on lights usage and things like that. We had a period of time where guys were sitting in the dark in their respective stations to the point where chief said, "Okay, I get it. You can have the lights on when you're in the room." Because it got so bad that he would go and just start turning lights off on people.
I mean, we have the same issue at my full-time job. They complain about the electric bill. Okay, well, we're running a business here. Me personally, I don't want to sit in the dark
No.
all day, every day. There's some people that do, and
Yeah.
I can't stand it. So I come in, I turn the lights on. I don't care. Like, you want to go sit in the dark, go find somewhere. Go the other bay that's not being used.
Well, and I can understand, like, if you're not in the sleep rooms or if you're not, okay, I get stuff like that. But, like, if you're in a common area or it's a public space, the lights need to be on. I'm sorry. That's just.
I mean, look at us now. It's daylight. We got plenty of sunlight in here. We don't need the lights on. Now if it was 8 o'clock at night, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing though, is that in this room, the light stays on most of the time, but this is the standby room. This room gets so much traffic, and anytime, like, to make some sort of bizarre policy about light usage here makes absolutely no sense because it gets tons of use. You're going to be flipping it on and off the switch 8 times in an hour versus.
I mean, the bay right now, there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
Lights are off. We're out there. Turn some lights on. I mean, I don't know how it was for you growing up, but my parents always, if you're not in the room, turn the lights out. And I kind of do it here, and there's no one in the room. Just during the day, I just turn the lights out. That's just because it's been beat into my mind.
But again, that's something that needs to be taught to people. That doesn't necessarily need to be policy driven. We don't need don't need a policy that states, oh, if you're outside of a room for X amount of time, like so let's run that for a second. So let's say you make a policy that says if you are not in the room for 15 minutes, turn the lights off. Well, so you leave, but someone else is going in there in 5 minutes, or somebody says, "Hey, I'm gonna be in here in 10 minutes. Don't turn the lights off. I'm coming in."
Right.
It becomes this game of like light constantly. And same thing, like,
and you're using more electricity.
Yeah, especially with these fluorescent lights, the what's it called in there? Transformers that need to spark.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking for. The ballast. Yeah, like it's. Again, though, it kind of goes back to the thing. It's like we find these things to fight and argue about and make big issues over, but they're not actually helping anybody. Meanwhile, you have equipment that's breaking. Meanwhile, you have, you don't have staffing that you need to run your ship. You don't have you don't have the equipment that you need to actually serve your constituents.
Right. I've brought up a lot of issues at my full-time job. Like we need this, and this. Like, this is unacceptable. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do? I want you to sit down and order it. Like, we need these down here. This is like, we have nothing. Or send them down from the headquarters. Like, but their thing is that our supply manager, this is what irritates a lot of us. She's not allowed to travel. Why? She's supply manager. Because they don't. We're one of the second furthest station from our headquarters. and they don't want to drive that far. So what? Like, we've been going this long without marker lights,
Yeah.
and we need these. And a couple of our trucks don't have headlights because they're all burnt out, and we don't have any more. Like, they can't go on the road at night. Technically, they shouldn't be going on the road during the day either, depending on the weather too. But they're like, just take it. Like, we can't.
But then this brings up the question of like, so it's more advantageous to take a road crew off the road and have them drive the whatever. I'm guessing about an hour's drive, hour and a half's drive.
It's a
50-minute drive. So they're gonna drive up there. They're gonna be out of service up there for half hour, 45 minutes, getting whatever they gotta get, and then the 50 minutes back. So roughly 3 hours out of service, out maybe 2.5 hours there out of service. That's better than having somebody in a chase car. Oh, not to mention the diesel fuel that, these trucks only get 8 miles to a gallon.
Yeah, even those V10 squads, they're the same way.
So that's more efficient for the company than having one person in a chase vehicle go and make deliveries. That's and this is what boggles my mind, because you bring this up and you're saying, oh, you're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're not thinking, it's like, no, I kind of am. Maybe I don't know every little nuance thing, but I kind of am thinking about like what actually makes sense.
Right. Sometimes it's like us road crews there. Like, it's some of the things that they tell us to do. It just like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're crossing paths with one truck for another truck, and they're both same service BLS trucks or ALS trucks going to an ALS or a BLS call. One truck had to bypass that call to get to this call, and now we're driving the opposite direction. We were 8 minutes away from that. Like, not here we go again. Now we're wasting fuel. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's. I think it comes down to this idea that that leadership, to a certain extent, this is one of the actually worst bits of advice I ever received. But leadership has this fear that if they are proven wrong on something, they lose all their credibility.
Yes.
Like, if you as the lowly employee, the low EMT there, notices this doesn't make any sense and you call the boss out on it, somehow that, like, the boss gets like publicly shamed.
Oh, absolutely.
And that doesn't happen, but
no. Like, I don't know. Like, you're full-time job. I don't know how it is like for you guys. Like, if you like, hey, this ain't making sense, or this is broke, or this needs to be repaired, and they just kind of push it away to the side. But that's how it is for us. And then when it's fully broken, now I was like, I told you guys this, or I went ahead and did it myself, or I'm emailing the owner like, hey, this can't keep continuing. Like, this is not okay. And then, they feel like they get yelled at, absolutely, but then I get yelled at for going over their head. It's like, well, I've been telling you guys this for months, and nothing's been getting fixed.
No,
I gotta take it to the next level.
We have a almost similar thing where it's like, if like people are afraid to like report something that they find broken because they're afraid of the backlash. Because the answer could just never be, and then I get there's certain things like, somebody scrapes a tree, like really scrapes a tree or something like that, or causes damage. I get there's got to be more like inquiry to things. But if somebody goes and says, hey, we have a headlight out, I just noticed it, the response should be, cool, let's get you down to the shop or get you down to a parts store, wherever, let's get you a new headlight. Let's get you rolling. But the often answer that we've gotten is, why are you just not telling us? Why didn't you tell us about this? Why didn't you notice during the truck checks? You're not doing good truck checks? How about I actually just passed it on like a good employee should.
Yeah.
And well, we can handle it.
And that's what happens. So like, well, you're just not noticing this. It was, and like you said, you're not doing good enough truck checks. Now, mind you, there are some people,
absolutely,
right, both everywhere, that doesn't do them properly. Me, I do it because if I know if it needs to replace, I can
Mhm.
replace it. I know how to replace it. We have the stuff there to replace the headlights and the marker lights. But there's some people that just whatever they
Yep.
don't report it. You know, like say something to management or say something to me. If I'm there, I can, and you guys are there, I can fix it in under
But
5 minutes.
at the end of the day, say something and then fix it. Like you're gonna
Yes.
spend so much more time trying to find your bad guy, trying to find your villain.
Yeah, like I just found out the other day on our
Mhm.
one truck, 32, half of the
Yeah.
grill light in the front is out.
Cool.
I just noticed it. It's like, hey, chief, half the grill light's out. She goes, oh
Yeah.
shit.
Okay. Well, I guess we gotta go fix that too. But at
Yeah.
least it's being brought up and done.
Exactly. And someone knows
Yes.
about it because kind of need that
Yes.
fixed. Any kind of emergency light. I mean, any headlight too, you know. But oh yeah, you're falling.
I'm dying here. I'm dying.
You were dying. But you know, it just things need to be said. Now, once you tell them, it's the ball's in their court now. Whether if it takes them 6 months to fix it, hey, just keep putting it in over and over again. But we also get in trouble saying stop putting it in. Well, it's been 6 months. It still hasn't been fixed. This needs fixed now.
Oh, and I think the reason why, because I have asked myself, well, why do we get like scolded for putting in the same problem multiple times? I think it's because it highlights an issue that they don't want to address. And so here's something I've noticed when it comes to our new brand of toxic leadership, is that they have something else in mind that they want to spend that money for. There's something that we talk about where like money is earmarked, like the first year. Now, that being said, and as I'm kind of learning about this from the union side with negotiations, you know, up to I think it's January through April, that money that you have at the beginning of the year is there's a bulk rollover from the year before that is earmarked already for your general operations, because it's not until April that your levy money starts coming in, and then it comes in more and more and more throughout the rest of the year. But that said, too, there are things that they have in the back of their mind that they want to accomplish. And sometimes those things have to be put on hold for what's necessary. But it's this game of like, okay, how close can I bring this to the edge and still do what I want to do with the money? And, and maybe then we can address this afterwards.
Right. Like you've worked in private before. You know how crazy inspections are. Our inspections are in a week. We have multiple marker lights out. And there's ones up at the top, like the ones that you gotta like dig out and everything. Those are a pain to replace, by the way. I don't know if you ever replaced one of those. Terrible. I hate them. But we have 12 ambulances that need brand new windshields. 12. And we're a week away from inspections. You guys have known about this for months. Like my truck that I'm usually in, we have a 8-inch crack. It's actually gotten bigger because we got it marked probably on both ends, at least an inch bigger. You've known about it for 4 months.
Now somebody's going to lose their mind here in about 4 days because
you need 12 windshields and inspections.
Well, and that's the question. It's like, what else does the company have to spend money on for their maintenance? Like, it's like most private ambulance companies are not being thoughtful and like,
and that's how it's been the last year with us. Like, we have a lot of issues. Like our main station, they have no heat, no AC.
That's a problem.
Yeah, they're literally working in the cold. I'm like, but apparently there's a major leak in the roof, and apparently it's going to cost $250,000 to replace. I'm like, you should have figured this out before you bought the dang.
It might need a loan. You might need I get that capital expenditures are expensive, but again,
because I actually dug into the revenue for them. Last year they made $25 million in revenue. Okay, yeah, I get paying your employees, you know, fuel costs, maintenance, your fleet, and all that. It's expensive. We pay almost $20,000 a
Yeah.
month in fuel, but we also drive all
Yeah.
over the state of Ohio. If I go a day without driving
Mhm.
250 miles, I'm shocked, you know. But get these things replaced as
Yeah.
soon as you can. Like, oh hey, this windshield's got a giant crack in it. All right, let's get it
Yeah.
in, get a service, get it done. Instead, now you're waiting till the last
Mhm.
minute to get all these repairs.
Well, and it comes. This is where the other thing I start noticing with toxic leadership like this is that they don't. Not just do they not plan out like doing things very well, but they don't. They pinch pennies because they think
Yes.
that's what's causing them problem. So for example, so like a catheter, 20 gauge catheter, they're like $1.90, maybe a little bit more, but like $2.30 now.
Depending on which is
Yeah.
self-including ones or not. Depending
Yeah,
on which
roughly
ones you buy.
we'll say $2.50 just for easy maths here. So $2.50 per self-including catheter, And let's just say that your ambulance company, they go and do IV starts. A lot of ambulance companies do. They go to nursing homes because reasons,
We'll
just say reasons. And using self-including catheters, that is the industry standard now. It is the safest way to do IVs. Well, we're wasting too much money starting IVs. So we're going to go and we're going to buy the non-including catheters that are, $1.50 cheaper. Okay, so you run what? Probably, my average math is correct, probably 12 to 18 total catheters per truck, give or take. What's all said and done? I mean,
Oh, well, all of them. So
yeah,
for us at least, we have
Yep.
220s. We have 2 of each. That's it.
Okay, so you guys might have over 10 at most. Okay,
Yes.
so that even furthers my argument because I was thinking of all the other bizarre places like first in bag, drug box, and stuff like that. If you guys, but regardless,
let me take that back. We probably have maybe 20 total because we do have an
Okay.
IV start kit.
so $2.50 times 20, so it's roughly $40 plus 10, so $50 roughly for all those. If my math is correct, 250 times 20, 50 bucks.
50
Okay.
bucks.
Good. I can math.
Let's say 53.
Okay, 53 because of tax. So you're telling me that you're saving. So if you do the ones that are only $1.50, so now you're paying $20 plus 10, so you're paying $30, so $33. So that's $20 per truck over 12 trucks. So 12 times 20 is 200, $240, right? You're saving, pinching those pennies is saving you $240 across your fleet. That's what's gonna rescue your bank right there.
Some places,
Even if you extrapolate that out to every month, or once a week, you replace that. I mean, do the quick math on that. So $240 times 52.
240 times 52. Almost $12,500.
So $12,400 in a year is a drop in the bucket to your $25 million. It's like
pocket change.
So and this is what I noticed with toxic leadership like this is that they're pinching these pennies. Like, oh, you guys gotta be more careful with this, or you guys gotta be. But that's not what's causing your problem. Now, the fact that you have a truck that hasn't had an oil change in 4 months,
Don't even get me started.
Well, I mean, that's what makes the difference when that engine seizes up, and now you got in a one-time go $8,000 in rebuilding an engine or replacing an engine, or you have a truck that's got air ride system that hasn't worked properly, and finally the bags give out, and that's a several $1,000s.
We had that issue in one of our trucks. A lot of our trucks, they go 5, 6, one went almost 10,000 miles over its oil change. I'm like, I tried to step in, like, listen, you don't have to be a mechanic to change oil in it. send us stuff down. I will do it. Write down the numbers, give it to my supervisor,
Yeah.
and they can relay it to you. Oh, no. You guys can't
No.
keep up with them. You're having a hard time doing this. I'm offering to help because I can do it, but they don't want it. Because to me, it's like when you try to help them with something, they freak out like, oh, no, can't do that. Because to me, it makes them feel like they look bad because they can't keep up.
It may mean, and partially that, and the other half is that the question then becomes, because they have to, at some point, you have to like account for money that's being spent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to go to this outside source to have, this money or these problems fixed, where's the money that you're supposed to be using it going to? Like,
right. And that's what like a lot of us like question, like they don't let us have overtime because it costs too much. Okay, I get that, but when you just replaced 4 engines in trucks because either one, there was no oil in them, and because people don't check them for one, so that's part of their issues, or you just let them keep going over and over, and then shit happens. I'm like, there's an issue. Like these need to be addressed. So those 4 engines that you just replaced probably cost you
on average,
because they're all
I'd
from
say on average
Ford.
probably $4,000 to $6,000 an engine at least. So you're probably looking at $24,000 to probably $35,000 right there.
And they're, I think the ones that we have are V8s. I'm pretty sure they are, but still, you could have avoided these. But some of the ones that did go out was a mechanical failure, because there was a known issue with those for that model. But hey, they were under 100,000 miles, so I think 3 of them were free. So, but still, it took those trucks out of service.
But then you look at like, okay, so does wear and tear that you're putting on these trucks make it worth it? And now this always killed me when I worked for private ambulance, and this is one of the reasons why I refuse to go back. Is it makes no sense in the way that we chase the money in private ambulance. And I get private ambulance is 100% a money market driven profit driven. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to get that out of the way right now. But why is it that whenever you have these people who are in charge of this, that you're willing to drive 45 minutes to an hour just for the pickup of a basic hospital discharge? You were way outside of your area of operation. And you're going to do, and that pickup isn't even going to bring you back home to like your area. It takes you another 40 minutes further away. This is what killed me. We go down to Dundee, Ohio, and we pick someone up from Dundee, and then we take them all the way out to Cadets. And it's cow. Like, why? Why are we doing this? Like they're going from home to a nursing home or vice versa, or you drive down to Cadets and then you're going to drive all the way up to Barberton it's like, why? How is this? And I guess maybe somebody has to do it, but why is this like when you took that call, you said, you know what, that's outside of our transport, or that's outside of our scope, or not our scope, but like our distance. And because you're taking a basic truck out and you're sending them that far. I mean, they're going to be out of service for like 2 hours for how much money again? Yeah.
A lot.
Like, is the hourly wage that you're going to pay and the wear and tear on that truck, is that actually going to be offset by how much you made back from that call? I don't think so.
Oh, I can top that one. So, we recently opened up a Columbus station.
Okay. Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah. So sometimes when like us at our station doesn't have a partner and someone in Columbus doesn't have a partner, we're driving to 2 hours. It takes us 1 hour and 55 minutes to get to Grove City just to go down there and run maybe 1 or 2 calls, and then have to drive 2 hours back. You want to talk about unnecessary wear and tear and unnecessary. The company's not making money at that point in time. There's sometimes they'll send them from Grove City all the way up
Yeah.
to Cleveland, a 2.5 hour drive for one call. And then they have to go all the way back. Makes no sense. And then like past, I think it's probably
Mhm.
4 months now, one of our contractual hospitals, we have to be within 3 miles of the hospital. And then they changed it. Oh, there's a room for you guys to post in while you're at the hospital. So now you're taking an ALS crew out of service to sit at this hospital to maybe run one call a day. So the fuel there and back and the wages for each personnel, you're not making any money. So as a business standpoint, why are we still doing this?
Because somebody was so proud that they secured that. I remember when I worked for the company, and they, they get a new nursing home as a contract, or a new hospital, and our director of operations was always so excited. Oh, we got this. This is going to really help us. We're going to get so much work out of this. We're going to get like, yeah, but did you actually really consider like the ramifications to this? That have, picking up this facility here in, BFE, like Findlay, Ohio, that's well displaced from the Canton area. That's
absolutely.
That
That's
maybe,
a drive.
and that's not where it was, but it's just that kind of reference of like maybe that wasn't a good thing, no matter how good the deal might have been for that contract.
Yeah.
Like you really do, but there again, it's about maybe this will make me look good for the moment, and this can undo all the screw ups that have happened before.
And our owner's done that when COVID hit, and when a lot of the hospitals and doctors' offices closed because of it, picked up another hospital contract. And then when everything opened back up again, now you don't have enough trucks on the road to handle this other major hospital system. And it wasn't just the one hospital; it was all their sister hospitals. So it was five more hospitals we had to cut. We don't have enough people. We still don't. It's like, and he eventually admitted, this is on me. I thought this was going to help us. It ended up hurting us big time because we didn't have enough crews to handle all the calls. And even today, we still struggle to cover everything because we have, what is it? Your alligator mouth is bigger than your little stomach.
Your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, I really
alligators, crocodile, what?
Yeah, and that's what it is still. And it's like now you have to choose who you're gonna screw over today, and it sucks because then you ruin that relationship with that system.
Well, and that's the thing that you have to remember is that the world of leadership, at some point you are going to unfortunately have to eat your words that you like.
Yes.
I hate to tell any leader out there, and I've been in this position more times than I wish I could say, but where I've had to go back to somebody who I've been in charge of or I've been helping or whatnot and say, hey, my bad, I screwed up. I'll eat it. But I made this decision and it was actually a really bad decision, or I made this and actually put you in a really bad spot. That's my bad.
Yeah.
You're not going to escape it. So this idea that like you're going to make the perfect decision that everyone's going to be happy with, you're not.
No.
But that said, it goes back to a simple thing. If you're doing what's in the best interest for the company versus what's in the best interest for you and the best interest for your ego, you're going to be okay. But if your ego takes over, you're screwed. You're done.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the same situation too. I made calls. I'm like, no, we're just gonna do this, and it comes back. Well, why'd you do this? Were you? And me being me, because I'm very opinionated. I'm like, well, were you there? No, you didn't know what it was like. You don't understand. You may say you do, but you weren't there. Until you were there, you can't say anything. Nobody was hurt. Patient was not hurt, and I made a call that I had to make. And then they're like, "Well, next time." I'm like, "No, next time I'm still going to make the same decision." Or if I did, it's like, "Well, it was either this or this." Like, okay, I didn't think about
Mhm.
this or that. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I've been in both spots.
Well, but
you know,
that comes to the point too where good leadership will look and say, okay, yeah, hey, you made a good call. Maybe there was a better option, but you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it. In your moment, that was the best option. Next time, where I see the toxic leadership coming in is that they address the situation, they can't let it go now because
Yes.
and I've had this run around with my boss at work where he's coming says something is like, well, since I brought it up, I mean, I'm gonna address him. Like, why are we gonna have this conversation if you've just admitted that nothing was wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we gonna continue to have the conversation? So
Right.
you can feel like you said something, you didn't even say anything meaningful. Why, you know?
Why are we even having
Yes.
this discussion?
And it starts really hinging in on that person has to feel like they made the right choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it seems like these types of leaders, they want to take responsibility for all of your decisions
Yes.
in every way. Like even the
Mhm.
bad ones, they want to take responsibility for bad ones so they can say, "Oh yeah, I went and talked to them already."
Yeah. Mhm.
It's like, why? I don't understand that. Ugh.
Honestly, I don't either. I don't know if it's an
Mhm.
ego thing or that's just what they do. I mean, it could be
Yeah.
both. It really can. I mean, I've seen
Mhm.
it both ways, especially at my full-time job. You mention something, they're like, "No, why would we do that?" And you bring it up again, they're like, "No, we're not doing that." Then a month later or 2 months later, "Hey, we're gonna start doing this." I'm like, "I told you we should
Yeah.
start doing that. That was my idea." "Oh, we
Yeah.
never talked to me." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Come
Yeah,
on."
you have this thing. It's like this weird amnesia that happens, and like all of a sudden, it seems like
Yeah.
but it's because like now they're saying like, oh, this is actually a really good idea. I want to feel like I've made the call.
It's like I've brought up multiple times, we need a better orientation packet. And I've taken some of our stuff that we have here for our new employees and kind of combined that with some stuff with physicians. And they're like,
Mm.
why would we do something like that? Because we
Yeah.
have nothing. Yes, they have a small little packet just saying,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, they're cleared, they're good to go on the road." No, we should have, an instructional, a testing, make sure they know how to do this.
You're gonna get
You
pissed
know?
off whenever somebody makes a wrong term, goes to the wrong hospital, or doesn't know like whatever obscure hospital you go to doesn't know their like weird policies of sacrificing a chicken to getting to the right
Yeah,
floor. I mean,
right. I mean, I forget where I was at not too long ago. I'm like, I have no idea where the heck
yeah.
I am going. Like a lot of these places, like they don't like us parking
No.
in the ER, but I don't know where
Yeah.
else to go. So I'm gonna go straight to the ER. Someone there knows
Mhm.
better than I do.
Yeah.
Never been there before. I'm like, only place I knew where to go. I wasn't. If I park in the main entrance, I'm still gonna get. So it's like it's
Yeah.
damned if I do, damned
It
if I
will
don't.
looks bad whenever you're carting someone in on a cart through the main entrance, and also it's just as
On vent.
obnoxious.
I'm not. They I forget what
Mhm.
hospital it is now. They want us going through
Mhm.
the main entrance. I'm like, why would we take a
Yeah.
vented patient with all these
Mhm.
drips running through the main entrance?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through
We
the
used to do
ER.
that with Worcester, where we finally got them to like, hey, take us through your service tunnels because we're doing these air facility transfers.
Oh, from the
Yeah,
back and stuff.
and it's
Yep.
and it took us forever to like get through their heads. To like, well, why don't you just come in through this because you got people who are coughing, they're hacking, they look bad. Some of them are like, they smell, because they got like a wound vac or whatnot. And the average person, they might be a hospital. Everyone thinks a hospital for some reason is like really clean, sterilized
It's not.
zone.
It is
But
not.
like, let's at least help keep the image up.
Keep it
Yeah,
from spreading. It's like I felt bad because like at Worcester, like most of
yeah,
us out there, we have a badge
yeah.
for every truck. I don't know who's taken them or lost them, but we're down to like one badge now. But we didn't have a badge. And here we are taking these people through
Mhm.
the main hospital, through
Yeah.
the waiting hallway. You know how
Yep.
small
Yep.
that hallway is. And in front of all these people,
Everyone's
they're coughing and hacking. Our
yep.
patient's coughing and hacking. I'm like, this is not
No.
how it should be.
No. And it's weird because like whenever you look at a lot of these hospitals, most of them have like transport corridors that they
Yeah.
transfer their patients through.
Mm-hmm. Like if I'm taking a patient to Akron City and it's a
Yep.
direct admit, I go
Yeah.
to the back. You know, Circle Drive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I'll go there and get the. I think it's
Yeah.
North elevators. I can't remember, but you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about. So I can
Yeah.
avoid going
Well,
through the ER. Don't taking
it's
up a
funny, like there's
spot.
certain hallways you just notice like you don't see people on gurneys. You don't see beds being pushed down certain hallways. It's like,
Yep.
I'm sure you could, but it's like if you
Yeah.
like Akron General is actually one I could think of in the old side of the hospital. There's certain people elevators on certain sides,
Yes.
and then there's the actual transport elevators on the other sides, and they have that purposely done so that you keep a
Yeah.
certain distance.
Exactly. And like my partner, she didn't know all of that about Akron General, so she used to have me park over like by the old
Yeah.
entrance there and go through like the
Yeah.
people elevators, even though it's closed down. I'm like, I
Yeah.
know a better way than this, and she's like, huh, this is
Yeah.
a lot quicker, but still you're not passing through a bunch of people sitting in the waiting room,
No.
but still,
No, I mean,
but there's a chance that you're on that elevator, it's going to stop and there's going to be people that's going to get on
Yeah.
that elevator. Why we just take the
yeah,
service
which
elevator.
I mean, which is better for everyone altogether. Again, are you thinking about the company, about your patient more than you are your like you're there until whatever time anyways. If it takes you an extra 5 minutes to go use the service elevators, cool. You don't have to break the cot down half the time to get in the service elevators.
Yeah.
You don't have to like weasel around or like, it's it's like it's almost like it's meant that way.
I will even in something like that, like for us, like our dispatch is getting really bad about this, and I've been putting my foot down. They called one day, both me and my partner were in the restroom, and then the secretary was on the phone with our dispatch setting up another transport, and then to call and tell them, hey, this patient can't go because they won't accept him because he has the flu. And they're like, she's like, okay, there'll be another crew that should be there. And she's like, they're standing right here in front of me. Now, mind you, she's said that to them 3 times. They're standing right in front of me. So the secretary apparently handed the phone to my partner because they wanted to speak to her. They questioned why we didn't answer our cell phones. Excuse you? First off, I'm using the restroom. I'm not answering the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not okay. Like, do I call you on your personal phone? Hey, why didn't you answer the dispatch phone?
Yeah, we used to do that. Like
they wanted to know why it was taking us so long. What?
I love so we had a call years ago where we went from Massillon to Worcester. And so now if you look at 30, State Route 30, it goes parallel all the way from Canton all the way across.
Yeah.
There is a couple of roads that follow almost perfectly parallel, and Back Orville is one of them.
Yes.
So we took this is in the, I guess you call it early days of Garmin GPS and whatnot. They hadn't been updated in a while, so we set our GPS. Our GPS took us from where we were at Lake Avenue and took us to Back Orville Road. And when you look at it, and it was funny because we got like we really got pee smacked over this.
Oh, we do too. Why did you take this way and not that way?
And they look, well, and it took us like 50 minutes to get there. We didn't realize that like we were like right parallel to 30, and not only did we not realize it, but we were just told, hey, this patient will be ready in an hour. Get there. Well, no. It was they were ready already, and we got there right in an hour. So we get there. Dialysis is like, where have you been? They were ready. Like, we're trying to close up shop right now. Yeah. And when they looked at the route that we took versus the route that like it's like, yeah, they're literally parallel to each other. Like
Yeah, here's back Orville.
Yeah,
Here's
they're
30.
really parallel to each other. But we got scolded by our dispatchers, who dispatchers, reminder, are not your bosses. All they do is tell you how to get or where to go and when to be there, but they are not your bosses. But they called and like, why are you taking so long? What? Like, we're on the way. What do you think we're doing here? Like,
Like our dispatch is the same way. They think they're our bosses. Like, no, you are
No.
not my boss. You just tell us where we're going to pick up our patient and drop them off at. That's as far
Yeah.
as it goes. My boss is sitting in the office down a couple of doors from you, and in the building across the street. Those are my bosses right there. You know, and the same thing. They're like, "What took you so long? Why'd you go this way? Who cares? Or why didn't you answer the phone? One, I was driving. Well, why didn't your partner answer? My partner's in the back doing patient care. Can't answer the phone. Call you when we get done.
Like what? Like I can very, very infrequently think of a time when it's super important to call someone on a call and say and give them information. Like 9 out of 10 times, there's nothing you're going to offer to that. But
Yeah.
Again, though, it's again what you deem as most important.
Yeah. I mean, now if I will call them like, hey, we can't take this patient now because either they're on a cardiac monitor or they got something running. And they're like, well, why can't you take it? Because I'm a BLS truck. Can't take stuff like that. Well, can they tell them to take it off? Whoa. Now you're overstepping.
Yep.
And some of our dispatchers tell these hospitals, well, can they just not go on that? Like, now, mind you, our dispatchers, they're not medically trained. They don't know these things. So why are we asking these? Like, just no, they have to go on it for a reason. Don't be asking. It's mind-boggling that they ask stuff.
It is like until you start realizing that it's from their little space. They think that it's about time for you to clock out here.
Yep.
They think that they have it all figured out. Like they have it all put together. And I think this is what kills me about the whole thing is that this kind of leadership, this kind of toxicity is completely devoid of like any actual not just thought. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a coherent line of thinking. Like it's completely devoid of any reason or any ability to make a good decision based on good information. It is based on what is the here and now makes me feel good more than what will actually garner results at some point.
Exactly. And I also believe that some of these managers, supervisors, officers, just, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. Just take responsibility of the actions and be more of a team player. Like, hey, so and so and I were talking about this. We think this is a good idea. Instead of just taking the credit for it all or just brushing it like, hey, they're coming to me with this problem with their vehicle or equipment. We really need to get this fixed. Like, or they're having an issue with dispatch. Like, what's going on? Why is this happening? You know, we can come up with a solution. You know, that's all it takes.
Well, and not just a solution, but like what if ask like why can't we do something else? Because many times you'll get the answer like, okay, well that's cool story, bro. We can't do anything about that. Okay, what can we do? What can we do in the meantime then besides just I think too many times and this is how we're all kind of raised up, but we're instructed that once we're told no, just drop it and walk away. And on some things I would say, probably it's okay to walk away from something. Some things you need to push a little bit more into, and you get the answer no, and say, okay, well, is there something we can do, or can you give me, or like, is there a reason why we can't do this right now? Maybe the reason why is because you're bringing up something that doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah. And see, that's me. I want to know, well, why? And I don't want to, a because I said so answer. Give me a reason why. Because I'm gonna be why again?
Yeah.
I want just tell me why, and I'll drop it. It's that simple.
Hey, if you tell me, hey, there's just we just financially cannot do it at all. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Hey,
done.
you know, we'll talk about it later. Where can we talk about this again later? You know, but if you try to tell me, so like, trying to think of like a good example here for it. So I brought this up at work about like the way that we do our new cadet hiring, or I'm not hiring, orientation, and that you could actually save a lot of the time with your new cadet orientation if you took them during their time while they're in their orientate or their direct orientation for the 2 weeks, and you took them to the stations and had them take a look at each truck individually. You could save a lot of time instead of telling them about like all of our policies for fire investigation stuff, which your fire investigation bureau is going to handle. Like those guys, the most they're going to do is help me do pictures and stuff. They're not going to be doing any investigation themselves, but they don't need 4 hours on that, but they do need 4 hours on knowing where the stations are, what each station specializes in, and then specialized equipment on different trucks.
Absolutely.
So I brought this up. It's like, oh well, I'm not sure. Well, then what would you guys do like during like what you guys are doing company training stuff? Like, I don't know, maybe do company level training stuff. Like to have somebody come to a station brand new, and I get to a certain extent, you gotta kind of pop the cabinets and shake down the truck. But every single day to be out there opening and closing cabinets, about the fourth time you do that, you're gonna start wondering, what the hell am I doing here? Like, and when we don't have enough guys to really do effective like training stuff all the time, like you gotta come up with something. You gotta give them something more than just go out and shake down the trucks. Like we can spend that company time doing more advantageous things than looking at a truck. But like you bring that up, it's like, but the reason you're giving is like, oh well, we've always done it this way. No, that doesn't cut it. Just because we've always, now if you tell me that, hey, we'd love to do it during new cadet orientation time, but we do actually have these things that we have to devote time to. Okay, that's a real answer. But then if you're trying to tell me that, well, I want them to know the nuance of, as a part-timer, of writing like a detailed fire report, I'm like, they won't be writing as a part-timer detailed fire reports. In fact, as a brand new full-timer, they probably won't be writing any detailed fire reports anytime soon. Like somebody else above them will be doing that. So again, it comes down to what's important for them and for the department versus what's important for you.
Exactly. And you brought up a good thing there, because like our new employees we get, it's the same way. Like, hey, they get 2 days of orientation in the classroom. For someone that's been doing it for 3, 4, 5 years, that's okay. One of our new employees that we got, it's still in high school.
How does that work?
She's 18. So yeah, and like I didn't agree with it. She had to skip class to come to orientation. I'm like, first off, her education and getting her diploma is more important than coming to orientation here. You should be like, hey, we're gonna hire you, but you're not gonna do orientation to your graduation.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure there's other laws in place about that when it comes to, I'm pretty sure all up there on the board there about like how that's supposed to work.
Yeah. I'm like, when she told us I had to skip class to go to orientation, I'm like, I'm sorry, you what? I'm like, don't think you should be doing that, but that's on you, and they should have said, hey, no, we can't do this, because like she's done by 11:30. Orientation starts at 9. Like your education is more important than job. They should have put a stop to that. But again, what's best for them or what's best for you? They took what's best for them. And to me, that's not okay.
And the thing is too is that so when that student starts failing because of this, then it's like you have to ask questions like, well, whose fault is it? Well, it's the student's fault. Okay, yes, partially, and we're what's
I think it's 50-50.
because the other side is, what about the company that made no concessions whatsoever for this case, or better yet, hey, maybe you shouldn't hire someone who's still in high school, even if they are 18. Yeah, I get it, but
yeah,
as you said, there's got to be a certain thing. Or this is something like we came to when it comes to hiring basics, EMT basics, is that we will hire you if you're an EMT basic. Up to it, there's some limitations to it, but you can moonlight wherever you want. If you want to work two jobs, knock yourself out. You're going to work full-time hours for us, cool. At the end of the day, we're not going to do anything obtusely to like make it harder for you to go to paramedic school and go to class.
Yeah.
But on the same side too, you can't, we take this actually very seriously. You can't be skipping class and you can't be skipping work for, like this part of the thing. But again, if it comes down to a question, which it has a couple times, like, okay, do you need to go do this test or whatever, or do you need to be here working? Hey, the battalion will close down for the afternoon, so you can go do what you got to do for class, so you can get yourself right there, because we're looking at you and saying we're trying to help you, because because helping you is actually going to help us. Yeah,
you guys. Yeah, especially if they're paying for it, because you are their investment. It's like with me when I was going through med school, they were investing into me. Things happen. Things do happen. Is it unfortunate? Absolutely. But you can't be skipping class to go to work. Like most places, like, hey, you miss a day, you're screwed. You're going to be so far behind, and you do not want to get behind, because it is a lot of material handed at you just through one class.
Well, and here's the thing too, and this is, I remember when we were telling Greg this when he was trying to go to school. It's like, make sure you choose whichever department you choose is going to support you going to school, because there is a lot of departments out there that they will, like, they'll grab you and say, oh no, you're gonna go run this med call instead of do your homework, or you're gonna go run this med call instead of, like, and I get that
getting held over and being late for class, and then you get in trouble for being late for class.
And I get that, okay, there is a responsibility to your job, absolutely, but like this is the thing that I like tell students when they come and hang out with us, do their ride time. It's like, look, hey, you're welcome to sit with us, you're welcome to fellowship, eat, whatever, and I get every once in a while you need a day where you're just gonna like not do any work, because it gets to be a lot. But
yeah,
especially like when we have people here who are students who are working, it's like, hey, go park yourself and study. We'll handle calls. We'll do truck checks this morning. We'll do all the stuff that needs to be done. You go and you study. You go and you go and do what you gotta do. Or they come and it's like, oh, hey, you mind if I take an hour or so today and do? It's like, you know what? You got stuff to do for school. Yeah, cool. Hey, go in the radio room, park it.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I sat doing all my stuff. Kept the door shut. And Chief would not let anyone in here when I was.
Now, if I come in here and you're just watching YouTube videos, we might have an issue. But but again, it's because I'm looking at saying, what do you need, and then how can we best help you achieve your goals so you can be useful to us.
When I was doing a lot of my clinical time at Barber Tucky over there, a lot of guys like, what do you need help with? And one of them was med math, and they all laughed. They're like, yeah, I haven't done med math in probably 10 years.
You have to ask that question.
And I'm like, well, that's where we're on. That's where I'm having my most issues with. And like, I wish we could help you. Because the thing is, they're like, why are they still teaching that? It's like the only time you're really going to use that is pediatrics most of the time.
Well, and
I've learned some more stuff here with our new med director, especially with pain meds too, and with ketamine, weight base it. Because you give a 250 guy 50 mics of fentanyl,
no,
gonna fucking probably touch him, or ketamine too. Do weight base. I'm like, that's actually a brilliant freaking idea. You
Well,
know,
I think that where you start touching on that is when we start setting goals and expectations that are unreasonable, and not that maybe not unreasonable as impossible, but unreasonable as in they don't really have any application. And this is and med math is just one of the places I can see doing the KED board or the when National Registry still did their skills testing day, which I'm not sure how they do it anymore, but apparently this
I believe
I was
they're
gonna
getting
say
away
apparently
from
it's not skills testing day anymore, but where you had where you had to do like you did the KED board to the backboard, and the only
Mhm.
reason you did those two was not because you're ever going to have to know how to use a KED board one day, because I think I've used it maybe once for a hip fracture. I've
Used
never
it
used it for
twice.
what it's designed to be used for.
I think I'd used it on an
Mm.
MVA one time.
I've never used it for what it's ever designed for, ever once. I used it for hip injuries. That's it. But the reason why is because they know they can trip people up with all the like multitude of steps and the duplication of steps and the undoing of steps. It's like,
Yeah.
what does that really teach? Like, I get like working through a process. Okay, cool. But if you're gonna work through a process, then let them work through the process. Don't
Yeah.
don't make it this thing where you're making it like this make or break moment. Like, because that doesn't help anyone either.
No, it doesn't. I mean, man, when I did my skills testing for my
Mhm.
basic, it is a
Yeah.
lot. You know, you're in the room with it's just you and one or two
Mhm.
other people, depending on what you're doing, you know, because I think when you went through basic school, were you able to do intubation still,
They
or
had
did they take
just
it
so the
away?
first time I went through basic, we were. Second time, we were not.
Yeah, because I got mine in 2012. We were still
Yeah.
allowed to intubate. And like me back then, I'm 21 years old. I'm like, man, I'm responsible for putting a tube successfully down somebody's
Mhm.
throat and not
Yeah.
breaking all these teeth. Like that's a
Yes.
lot. And like, and as a basic, that's a heck of a
No,
skill.
it is. Well, and this is what I remember. So I remember when I did my paramedic registry testing. It was we were doing the what was it? It was the cardiac. It wasn't the mega code. It was the cardiac treatment stuff. Like you're run of the mill chest pain call type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem that what that happened is they never framed it as that. So everything was BSI, scene safe, so on and so forth, except for this one scenario. So I'm going through all this because I'm treating it almost like doing a medical thing. And the guy's looking at me and he's like, "Oh no, he's like, this is all I have for you." And I'm like, "Is my only patient? Do you have a patient that looks like this?" And I'm like so freaking confused. It's like all you have to say, dude, is like, "Hey, this is you can forego all formalities, just treat the patient. I don't care about anything else. Just treat the patient." But instead, you sit there and let somebody flounder for minutes and minutes and minutes to a point where they're that flustered, like, "Okay, I quit. I give up." And then, and then you're like, "Oh, by the way, this isn't the medical. You can just give me treatments." Oh, okay. You didn't betray any of the testing. You didn't
Right.
betray the testing protocol by telling me all you will be doing is giving the treatments to what you find. You're not betraying anything by doing that, but you definitely would have helped clarify what the actual intent was.
Yeah. Instead of you sitting there or standing there like, I
Yeah.
don't know what else. Like,
Well, because I'm like asking for like, what's the EKG look like? What's this? Like, I'm asking all these other questions that you would ask in this typical scenario. And he's looking at me like just deer in headlights, like, I got nothing for you. And I'm like, fine. But if I finally just kind of stop, I'm like, I'm gonna give him nitro, aspirin, O2. We're gonna monitor, do and start getting EK or not EKG, gain IV access. Okay, you're good.
mm-hmm.
It's like that's literally all I had to say. Yep, you're good now.
Stood here for 10 minutes and that's all I
I
needed.
could have been in and out in 2 minutes if you know but instead you framed it as like I was going to have to go through a whole rigmarole, and
Right.
yeah. No, it's these little things I noticed that like we do for just to play the mind games, I guess. It's like I don't understand the purpose behind that method of thinking or that methodology.
Yeah, it's like we have annual competency skills that we have
Yes.
to complete. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing. They give us a scenario and they're like, last year I was asking
Mhm.
all these questions and like they're like just sitting there just staring at me. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm gonna take the patient back
Yeah.
to the hospital. Like that's all I wanted. Like I just stood
Mhm.
here for almost 10 minutes going
Mhm.
through everything, asking questions, this, that. And all I had to say was, I'm gonna take him back to the hospital. Yeah, that's what I was
And all
looking
the
for.
meanwhile, they're just thinking, this guy's not getting it. I don't know. I don't know
That's
how
how it
I
made me
get
feel like I missed
yeah,
something
like
or I'm doing something wrong. And all I had to say,
yeah.
turn around, go back to the hospital. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get to do repeat
Mhm.
blood pressure. I'm going to do a 12 lead to
Mhm.
send to the hospital. I'm going to blood sugar, cap no. I put it on everything. They're like, okay, well, I'm not doing this. All right, I might have to go to CPAP. Then what? I'm like, oh, just go back to the hospital. Yeah, that's all you needed to do. But I'm still going to treat my patient. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's not what you were getting at. That was to go back to the hospital. But that's going to be the thing anyways. I'm turning back around like, no, you're going back.
Well, and this gets, I mean, this gets probably to where we need to land this too, is that you're not very clear about what expectations are. It's this is, and above all this too, whether it's stuff in your company or department that's not being repaired for whatever reason, or money that's not being allocated to different things, or money that's being allocated to some things but not others, buildings that aren't being repaired, whatever it might be. It's funny how whenever you ask for clarity of like, okay, well, where is all the money going? You get like a line by line items, but you never really get a clear idea of like where the money's actually going. Like
exactly,
you never get a clear idea of like what is actually like why are we spending the money we are, and that is, or in this case, like what is the actual like what's what I'm looking for threshold for success.
Yeah.
Like, and then they're like, oh, well, of course you were going to do this. No, not of course. That wasn't very clear at all.
No, just be transparent. There are some things that should be transparent, and there are some things that not everybody needs to know about. You know, and I've learned that in the last probably year of like helping my partner, since she's the supervisor. I know more things than I should probably know, but I'm with her all the time. But it's like, why aren't they being transparent about these things? Like these things, I understand why. Like the whole situation of us sitting down at that hospital, they don't want everybody to know why we're sitting down there. I know why we are, and I understand it. To collect data to prove to them this ain't worth our time.
Well, but sometimes you have to tell people that too. The one thing I remember when I was in basic training, our drill sergeants came out. Now I did not have the most stellar drill sergeants while I was in basic training. I know everyone says that will say that to a certain extent, but we did not have the most stellar. But drill sergeant I know is now haven't been one. We fucking love our job. We love doing our deal. Sometimes you have to sit down with the cadets, the trainees, whatever privates, and you have to explain to them, hey, we love what we do. So yes, sometimes we're gonna laugh and have a good time, especially you guys in formation, because we love what we're doing. You're gonna have that time too. You're gonna play time to laugh too. But sometimes you have to give perspective to why why is it that we're sitting here, maybe we're laughing, we're joking with each other, but you guys are expected to be there silently. Well, it's because there is 160 of you and there's 7 of us. We have you staying quiet right now because it's much easier to get 7 of us quiet than it is to get 160 of you quiet. Or in the same way too is like, hey, and I brought this up many times when we're sitting out in the middle of the morning waiting on a bus for transpo. It's like, you know why we get up so stupidly early? Because there's 160 of y'all who we have to get up, shower, dressed, change all your gear down here to chow, and then standing outside by the bus. You know how long? Yeah, it's a long freaking time to get like 20 of you doing that. Would take like an hour and a half, not let alone. Yeah.
60.
It's like that's why things takes for freaking ever. And
Yeah.
but until you give that little bit of like clarity, like everyone's like, oh, this is stupid. We're awake at 4:30, but we don't get on the bus until 9. This is the stupidest thing. Yeah, because
Might take 3.5 hours for y'all to shower.
Yeah.
And do everything you need.
yeah,
to
I
do.
mean,
There's a
we
reason
have to be
behind
up
it.
4:30 because with formation at 5:15, because it's gonna take to walk down to a chow hall, it takes 25 minutes. Boom. It takes 25 minutes to walk down to a chow hall. Then that's 25 minutes to walk back. So we got 50 minutes alone right there, just walking. You know, not to mention that you're gonna sit there and take an hour to get all y'all through, get you eating, whatnot, and get all your gear down, bed down, and pick back up and all that. All of a sudden, it makes sense why it takes. But you have to. Sometimes you have to give that perspective because otherwise, people will make up perspective.
Yeah. And I get that. And like I've told our managers for us, like it to a lot of people, when you're not transparent about things, it makes them feel like you guys
Yes.
are hiding something. And when they start feeling like that, then people
Yep.
start talking, rumors start. Just be
Yep.
very transparent. Like, listen, like when I ask,
Mhm.
why do we have to do something like this? Because to me, it doesn't make sense. Tell me why we're doing it that way to make it make sense for me. Then I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Done. Just be like that with everybody. Just be like, because we said so.
No.
That's not enough.
Well, and there's very few things outside disciplinary issues. There's very few things that a company can not be transparent transparent about with what they're
Mhm.
doing. Money wise, time wise, resource wise, there's very, very, very little they can be transparent about. Like none of it is really that super secret squirrel. Unless you are doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Exactly. You know, because like I've had people like, well, how do you know how much the company brought in? I was like, public record. They're for profit, even nonprofits. I'm like, this is how I know these things because like, well, how do you know they're debt free? They're tax records.
You can just go and request this stuff. You don't have to do anything special.
It's called the Freedom of Information Act too. And they're like, whoa, holy cow! Like you guys gotta educate yourself, protect yourself too. This is why I'm very outspoken there, and I think that's also why they have a love-hate relationship with me because I'm not afraid to hold back, but I also understand where they're coming from. Because being with my partner, seeing management side, and being with her, I see a lot of stuff that they do on the back side. But I'm like, you guys, you got to tell them that. Tell them what you're doing on the back end, because a lot of them think you guys sit in this office all freaking day and do absolutely nothing, and that's how you guys portray it. When you're really not, and I know that, but not everybody.
Well, and
else
but that's
does.
what most people think that management is you sit in the office and you just sit in your brain. And really, that should be the furthest thing from the truth. Your manager should be out there doing almost more than anyone else are. But and then, unfortunately, that's also the other side is that. But again, if you're not willing to be transparent, then the question becomes, why not? And that's the.
And don't give us that because we don't have to. Well, you should, because this is how you start losing people.
Well, and here's the thing: it's like if I go into your office as a manager and it's a wreck, but then you are scolding me for not having a truck washed or cleaned and whatnot. Okay, I get where we're at, and I get our job. Okay, so now that we've addressed that little elephant in the room, if I go into your office and it's a wreck, and it's a complete disaster, and not just because you're in the middle of a paper chase, but every single time I go up those stairs, like we go up the stairs to our manager's office in Canton whenever I work for a private ambulance company. And the one office was just paper stacked everywhere. Like, and it's just like, this is you wonder why we can't find things. You wonder why you're
Nothing's
nothing.
organized.
Yeah, it's like I could tell you why. It's don't think, but this is also the same person who then whenever they would come down, hey, why aren't the trucks washed? Or hey, why why is this why do we have trash in the trash cans? Or why is no one taking out? It's like I couldn't possibly imagine why. Maybe because everyone sees your office and you haven't taken out the trash in 3 weeks.
I mean, that's actually some of the problem that we have. Go up there, they're sitting in the dark on their computers. One of them's usually playing a game on their phone, but these trucks out there, they look disgusting. But they also pay a guy to come in and wash the trucks. One, I don't believe we should be doing that because that enables them up there to come in at the end of their shift and just leave it. Well, this guy's only there 8 to 4. So now it sits dirty, caked in dirt, mud, ice, all that overnight. And then someone that's got to come in next morning gets handed that. Why do all the other stations wash their truck at the end of the day, but you guys don't have to do that? I'm like, that's not fair. I'm going to start doing that. But I know my coworkers that I work with at that station is going to hold me accountable. There is no accountability up here. You guys are here. You see it. I'm like, you guys have so many things in the drug box up here that are expired. And things are not going. You guys are sitting 20 feet away from the bay. What's going on? Because they don't want to deal with it.
And I get the more you let go, the more you have to deal with. You got to start just incrementally little things here and there,
Yeah, because like if someone at my station puts in an incident report about the truck being left a complete disaster and not restocked, I'm gonna get in trouble for it. But yet they don't hold them up; they're accountable for the same exact thing. And I've said that it's like, well, first off, don't yell at me when you guys don't even hold your own people out there accountable for everything you do. So we're done with this conversation.
Well, but that's also again too that comes back to what what are you willing to do that makes you look good or look bad. And sometimes it's really easy to take the low hanging fruit. And I mean, this is corporate speak for low hanging fruit. We're going to do the things that are easy to take credit for, that really don't take any effort to actually accomplishing, and that's what we're going to go for. And that's what most of them do. Is that we all know the one person who is like spreads out across the entire station. Oh, I wonder who that. I think they are too. But no, we know the one person, so we know it's really easy to pick on them, and that that you're going to be right 9 out of 10 times whenever you bring up that question, that issue. You know the person who doesn't fuel the truck, and and you can track that, and you can pick on that all the time. That's the low hanging fruit. Sometimes you have to go for the little bit higher hanging fruit and address those other ones too. And yeah, you're gonna piss people off because of, well, why so and so get to leave the truck alone? It's like, because I'm not talking to so and so, I'm talking to you. That's
exactly.
It's not a question of, you said you want fairness. You said you want everyone to be held accountable. Well, guess what? That also means that you need to be held accountable. You need to be kept to this too, not just the people that you want to see.
Exactly. And I see, like, for me at least, people that are really good friends with them, they get away with more, and I don't agree with that. Just because you're friends, like I'm friends with the one manager, but he also holds me accountable for my shit. Like, was it New Year's Eve? Me and my partner, we were so exhausted. This is my fault. A tiny room, to get patient into the nursing home. Took the monitor off the back of the cot and I set it on his nightstand. I forgot it. Text me and I'm like,
where is that?
He's like, hey, I got in Medic 18. Where's the monitor? I'm like, should be back there. And I was like, fuck, I hope I didn't leave it at the nursing home. So I called the nursing home. Oh, yeah, it's here. Blah, blah. I'm like, so I called him. He's like, hey, I fucked up. He yelled at me. He's like, well, I'm not going to do nothing because one, you owned up to it. He's like, because if you would have lied to me, I know better. He's like, do you know how we knew it was there? I was like, well, yeah, I knew how you knew it was there. I'm not stupid. I'm like, I know they didn't call you yet. And like, well, then how did you know? there's a tracking device on it. I'm
Mhm.
not dumb. It's like I said I will go get it when I get off shift, and I did. Did it suck? Because I had to drive
Mhm.
all the way to work to get supplies to go up there, drop them off, get the monitor,
Mhm.
and come back to Smithville, then home. Yeah, but guess what? I had to pay for
Yeah.
my
And
action.
sometimes it's what it takes. So that is, you bring up an interesting thing, that whenever you have worked with people for a long time, and this is something actually we're gonna run into here pretty soon with when we start promoting new officers, because some of us have been working together as blue shirts for a while, and there's about to
Yes.
be a turn of of responsibility and authority, and not all of us are gonna do great with that. Um, you being promoted is not your opportunity to bring your friends with you. And I think this is, I don't know like how this really fits into like this new brand of toxic leadership, except that you feel like you create this web where you have your posse that will kind of protect each other.
Yeah.
We had this, so when I was in the 192nd, which is funny, I'm going back to the 319th here in about a month. So I'm like making full circle here in a way, but there was a group of people, group of soldiers whenever I started there, and they were all good friends. They're all E4 specialists at about the same time. One of them got promoted to sergeant. One of them wanted to get promoted. Another one got promoted to staff sergeant, and they go and start doing good things for their countries and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them kind of got left behind. One of them got left behind so much he started getting himself in trouble. Like he started doing some pretty stupid illegal stuff. Um, so, but you know, it was interesting because at first, when these first two got promoted to sergeant and staff sergeant, they tried to kind of like tag along Timmy these other soldiers, like, oh, you know, we're just gonna be a good posse and whatnot. We're all good, and they would protect them. But what you start noticing very quickly is that the responsibilities and expectations of the NCO quickly superseded those relationships. And two things happened almost simultaneously. Number one, they started being treated like more and more young soldiers every single drill because of the needs. But second too is that the protection that the younger soldiers unpromoted got started dwindling very, very quickly as they found themselves getting in trouble because they were not doing their job, and then they would say, "Oh, well, Sergeant Parker would say it's okay." Well, Sergeant Parker's E5 sergeant. They don't have any bearing to give that kind of order,
Right.
and it caused a rift among them. Like it that like you know it's like, and it hurts friendships in the long term, because if you can't establish like that difference early on,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm in charge of you. Yes, we're still friends, and I'm sure it's very hard to
Mhm.
separate those because now one's in charge
Yep.
of the other, but you're friends, and you think you're going to get
Yep.
away with some, but and some people, I'm sure that they do let
Mhm.
some people get away with things, but you can't let
No.
that happen, but like outside of that, hey, we're equals. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I'm technically in
Yeah.
charge of you. Like I've seen it
Mhm.
here. I
Yep.
know you have too. And I see how hard it is to separate being an
Mhm.
officer for people and then also still being really
Yeah.
good friends with them. But like for me, it's like, oh, I know that he has a responsibility and duty and I have to
Yeah.
answer to him. But outside of that, or when it's all said and done, yeah, he's
Yeah.
still an officer,
Yeah.
but we're still friends.
No, but it's as long as you can maintain that within its
Yeah.
bounds.
And I'm sure from probably for a first year, maybe even longer,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard because they see you as, oh, now you're an officer. Now you think you're Billy
Mhm.
Badass. And then some people, you know, they
Yeah.
disrespect them. And I see that. I'm like, dude, you're your lieutenant or
Mhm.
your captain. Like, you need to show them the same respect, and even some more. You know, like, yeah, you can joke around and stuff, but you got to give them respect too.
Oh, and it goes the same way the other way. Is remembering that
Oh,
you get promoted, that you don't let it just rush to your head
yeah.
immediately, and you don't just let it just run rampant either. Just because you get promoted is not your free ticket, and this happened here a couple of years ago. But your promotion is not your free ticket to change every single little thing that you've been waiting on. Like, first of all, most of the things you want to change, you don't have the authority to change. But second of all, too, is like you don't need to flex that muscle. I promise you'll get plenty of time to flex your command muscle
Mhm.
and your in charge muscle. You'll get plenty of time to do that.
Yeah, there's a time and
Yes.
place for that.
But you don't have to look for those things.
Yeah. You don't have to go out and like, oh, I'm lieutenant or captain now. We're gonna do
Mhm.
this every
Mhm.
single day. Like,
Yeah.
who said?
Well, and
You
I
know.
mean, there's a fine line between like doing good things for your country and whatnot,
Yes.
and being overbearing because reasons. But yeah. Holy crap, we're an hour and 40 minutes. So,
All right.
all right, I think we can put a pin in this for this week, and we're about to listen and make sure that you actually sound good or sound as good as you think you do.
I hope so.
So, all right, well, unfortunately, we never really kind of got to like, what do we do about this new toxic leadership, but I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a running theme right now because,
You know, I think next one we can kind of like pick up from this to come up with a
Yeah.
solution and then continue on to our
Yeah.
subject.
This is one of those things that I don't think that doing one episode is going to do it justice at all. I don't think that doing one conversation really even scratches the surface too.
Oh no. We're tip of the iceberg.
I mean, we can go on and on about examples and stories of toxic leadership or toxic leaders or managers we've had, but yeah, it's not a problem that's going to get any better either, because there's no one really teaching us or no one really raising us up any better. So
No.
well, we'll go ahead and put a pin in this. Wish I could reach a pin. I can't reach a pin. Pin has been placed. So we'll be back next time. We'll get off once we get off here. We'll come up with an actual time so we can actually be somewhat consistent. But in the meantime, I've been Tim, and this
Jeremiah.
has been Conflict of Leadership Coffee Table Edition. Join us for a future conversation about this, because this isn't going away, and it's quite honestly, it's not going to get any better. So
Nope.